Hey, YouTube, Willie Cartwright here from Save to Sane. The other day I was on social media and I ran across a young lady who had done a video about 5 things that Christians are not able to handle. 5 things that Christians can't handle coming from non-Christians or non-believers. And as I read through the list of the 5 things, it struck a chord with me. And I said to myself, wow, this is exactly the things that I hear from Christians when I have a discussion about why I left the faith, why I'm no longer a Christian, or why I no longer believe in the Abrahamic God. So I thought to myself, this would be a great video to do on my YouTube channel. So I wanted to do it. So without further ado, let's talk about 5 things that Christians are not able to handle from non-Christians. The first thing would be that Christians are not able to handle the fact that non-Christians are happy and fulfilled without believing in a God or without being a Christian or part of any other religion. Christians are just not able to deal with that fact that non-Christians and non-believers are really happy and their life is fulfilled. As a matter of fact, along my journey, now my circle of friends include not only Christians or believers, but many, many non-believers, non-Christians, agnostic, atheist people. And I will tell you that almost all of my non-Christian friends seem to be happy and have fulfilled life. Obviously, I don't know everything that's going on in their life, but from the surface, from the things that I do know, and I know some of these people extremely well. They've become really, really great friends of mine over the last 5 or 10 years, and they seem to be doing extremely well and are extremely happy. And on the reverse side, most of the people that I know who are not really happy, who are not fulfilled, who are having problems after problems, happen to be Christians. People who've been lifelong Christians, people who've dedicated and given their life to Christianity and God and Jesus. And these people come across as some of the most unhappy, unfulfilled people that I know in my circle of friends. So this is just one of those things. And me as a person who used to be a Christian, who is no longer a Christian, who used to be a believer, who is no longer a believer, my life is so much happier and so much more fulfilled. So I am a witness of the things that I am saying about this first subject, or this first topic. So again, Christians cannot deal with the fact that non-Christians, non-believers, people who don't have God or Jesus in their life are extremely happy and have a totally fulfilled life. The second thing that Christians are not able to deal with is the fact that non-Christians, non-believers have ethics and morals and a sense of value and a sense of purpose in their life. A lot of Christians, when I have a conversation and explain to them that I'm no longer associated with Christianity or no longer believe in the Abrahamic God, one of the things that always come up is, well, what about your morals and what about your ethics? I say you don't need a God or a deity to have morals and ethics. As a matter of fact, if you read the Bible is one of the most immoral things that pieces of literature or pieces of writing that you will ever read. And by virtue of that, if the Bible is the spoken word and the expression of the Abrahamic God, then by connection, the Abrahamic God would have to be one of the most immoral and unethical beings that ever existed. Those of you who are familiar with the Bible, I want to know how many of you know that in the Bible, God is either responsible, either condoned, or okayed over 2 million killings in the Bible. 2 million to include kids, babies, innocent women. Also, there's rape and other types of atrocities in the Bible. If you really sit down and read the Bible, you will realize how immoral the Bible really is. And so, again, as a non-believer, a non-Christian, a person who doesn't have God or Jesus in their life anymore, I feel that I am even more moral because now the things I do are simply for the reason that because it's the right thing to do, not because I want to go to heaven, not because I don't want to go to hell, not because I'm afraid that God is going to punish me or I want God to bless me. I do it because it's the right thing to do. And not that it wasn't what I was doing before, but I think I know a lot of Christians that would do stuff and do the right thing simply because they're supposed to do that as a Christian, or they're afraid that if they don't do the right thing, that God is going to somehow punish them or they're going to end up in hell. So I always say, how about just doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do? And I don't need a deity to tell me what's the right thing to do. It's innate in us as human beings. We've survived, we've evolved all of these hundreds of millions of years. Hundreds of thousands of years, I should say, because we understood that doing the right thing is not only good for us, but it's good for the community as a whole. It's good for for mankind, humankind as a whole. That we don't need a deity for that. Explain it to us. This third one, when Christians find it hard to believe that everyone doesn't accept the Bible as infallible, doesn't accept the word, the scriptures, the writings in the Bible as law. Whenever you talk to a Christian and they begin explaining something, they always reference the Bible as if it's infallible, as if it's the law. And they assume that we all believe that. So they'll say, well, according to the Bible in verse such and such, da 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 da. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's what you believe. That's not what I base my life on, how I live my life. And they look at you with a shocked look on your face that the Bible is not the basis of how you live your life, and that everything in the Bible is not, to you, is not infallible, that it is not inerrant. It is in error, and it's not infallible, and there are mistakes, and it is not the thing that I follow as far as laws that I follow. Because there's too many issues, too many discrepancies, too many things in the Bible that doesn't make sense, that lead to so many atrocities over the history of the world, that people have followed this Bible and it has led to them doing some of the most atrocious things to one another. This red number 4, this has to be probably one of my favorites. Because if I've told 100 people that I no longer follow the Bible, and I'm no longer a Christian, and I don't believe in the Abrahamic God anymore, I always, almost out of 100 times, 99 times I've gotten this response: well, you must have not have really been a Christian. Christians find it hard to believe, almost impossible in their little brains to believe that a person could have been a Christian before and is no longer a Christian. As a matter of fact, some of the greatest historians and some of the most acclaimed agnostics or atheists or people in this field that's writing and discussing Christianity and the fact that it's mythology, a lot of those people used to be not only Christians, but ministers. They've gone to seminary school. They've preached for years and years and years in the pulpit. Me being a Christian for 40 plus years, you can't tell me that I didn't believe that I was a Christian. And I tell people all the time, simply open your eyes. For me, it was asking the questions, not getting satisfactory answers, doing more and more research and reading, and then applying critical thinking skills that caused me to leave the faith and caused me to no longer have belief in the Abrahamic God. And that's fine. I mean, I could be wrong, I could be right, but that's where I am on my journey, and I wholeheartedly believe of where I am, and I'm confident and I'm comfortable with where I am in that belief. But so many Christians look at me and I get all kind of feedback saying, well, you must not have really been a Christian, because a real Christian could never leave, here, this and that. No, what I tell you, what the difference is that I believe that most Christians have questions. Because if you don't, then you are the very definition of a sheep or a mental slave. Because even just reading the scriptures, there are so many discrepancies. There are so many questions. There are so many things that don't make sense. You have to have questions. The difference between me and you is that I acted on those questions. I went and searched for the answers. Even when there was a brick wall put up, I went further to say, wait a minute, this still doesn't make sense to me. There's a problem with this. Again, critical thinking skills. Those of you who have questions that are Christians and you that say, well, I'm just gonna stop because if I ask questions, that's wrong. That's the devil telling me to ask questions. That's not normal. It is normal to be an inquisitive human being. We wouldn't be where we are as human beings if we wasn't inquisitive. We wouldn't have the technology that we have now if we were not inquisitive people. So I beg of you, if you have questions, find the answers to those questions. Read, search, apply critical thinking skills. Be more analytical about how you approach your faith and your religion. And finally, the fifth one is, again, Christians have a hard time believing that someone does not believe in heaven or hell or have no fear of the devil or Satan. Again, do your research. Research and find out where the concepts of heaven and hell came from, where the concept of Satan came from. There are some very important and acclaimed people of the cloth who have admitted that there is no heaven or hell, have admitted that Satan is a made-up construct. So again, it is once you are out of the trees, so to speak, and you can see the forest from a distance, you understand and you can apply analytical thinking, and you do your research and you understand that Satan and Lucifer are all made up and that there is no biblical heaven or hell, and where those concepts came from in the study of religion, then you too, like I did, I have absolutely zero fear of going to hell because hell doesn't exist. Even when I was a Christian, I never believed in Satan. For whatever reason, I never thought that the biblical Satan was something for me to fear. I've never claimed the devil. I've never said the devil did this, the devil made me do that. I've never even acknowledged Satan or the devil ever in my life. And now that I'm no longer a Christian or no longer a believer, I certainly will never acknowledge that there is anything called the devil or Satan. And it has never been an issue in my life. So to wrap this up, again, these were just 5 topics that I found to be extremely interesting. Something that hit home with me every time I have a discussion or make a post about my disbelief in the Abrahamic God. There is always someone who's going to respond with one of these, if not one, multiple of these 5 things that I gave you that Christians have a hard time dealing with coming from non-believers, non-Christians, and especially those of us who used to be Christians or used to be believers who are no longer. So again, do your research, apply critical thinking skills, and let the journey take you where it's going. Till next time, Willie Cartwright, Save to Sane.